When I was growing up, my parents actually owned rentals. They had a duplex and then they had a property that had three mobile homes on it and a single family home. I saw the good, the bad, and the ugly for the years. They had a lot of struggles, and I would say if anything showed me why not to be a landlord and why not to get into real estate, it was witnessing everything that they went through. I mean, like, even one of their properties was featured on the news because it was involved in a drug bust.
Welcome to the Saucetown Investor Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is another episode of the Saucetown Investor Podcast. I am Matt Cox, and I am joined by another special guest today. Really enjoying these interview episodes, and I'm really excited for this one. Our guest today is a real estate agent based in Salem, Oregon, who loves helping investors find deals that match their return goals. She knows the local market inside and out and has a real passion for building wealth through real estate. While she's busy helping her clients make smart investment moves, I can vouch for this. She is my agent and has helped me a lot with my business. She's also working on growing her own portfolio, which we'll get into that as well. As a mom and wife, she understands how important it is to create financial security and build generational wealth. She's all about helping others do the same, whether they're experienced investors or just dipping their toes into real estate. With her knowledge and experience, our guest is a great resource for anyone looking to use real estate as a path to financial freedom. I am joined by Sabrina James. Sabrina, how's it going?
It's going good. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, great to have you here. You having a nice Friday other than our one deal that we're working together?
Oh gosh. Yeah, that deal is a story in and of itself. I hope that's a one-timer for me, let me tell you.
I am with
Um,
you.
yeah, yeah. No, but everything else is going good. The team is closing a lot of deals. We're getting a lot of listings going on, so very happy.
Yeah, I think just the between just us, I think we have three offers in right now and maybe three or four listings that you're working. So we're doing
Yeah,
doing a lot of business together.
yeah. Love it.
So again, great to have you on here. Just to start us off before we dive into the real estate piece, just tell us a little bit about your upbringing, excuse me, and your background. You know, where you grew up, and then maybe at the end you can kind of take us into how you got into real estate.
Yeah. Well, born and raised Salem, Oregon. Still live here, work here. When I was growing up, my parents actually owned rentals. They had a duplex and then they had a property that had three mobile homes on it and a single family home. And I saw the good, the bad, and the ugly for the years. They had a lot of struggles, and I would say if anything showed me why not to be a landlord and why not to get into real estate, it was witnessing everything that they went through. I mean, like, even one of their properties was featured on the news because it was involved in a drug bust. So if that tells you anything of what they had dealt with. Um, but I did see that there was a lot of positives that they got out of all of that experience. They got, all the benefits of real estate. And I think if they were to do it again, they definitely would. So it was good. I got to see that growing up and be involved in it. And I knew that at some point in my life, I probably wanted to own real estate, whether it just be like a home I live in, maybe I would get a rental property. I wasn't sure. Um, but when my husband and I bought our first home, we got to the point where we thought, okay, we might go buy something new. And it just didn't really make sense for us to sell the home and upgrade into just a larger house that we really didn't need. And at the time, it seems like everyone else, we were really into the fire movement. We were reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. We were listening to Bigger Pockets, all that. So we were just super motivated to save a ton. The fire thing definitely dropped off. I was like, I can't live like this. This
A
is no
common
life for
story, I
me.
think, with fire.
Yeah, no, it did not last long. But so we started listening to a lot of Bigger Pockets and trying to think about how that we could grow our portfolio. So yeah, and funny story about how we got our first property. Uh, my husband and I, we got married pretty young when we were 21. And my parents at the time, they said, all right, well, we'll either help you buy a home, we'll contribute to the down payment, or we'll help you with a wedding. So we were like, screw a wedding. We want the house. So we ended up being able to purchase that house. And we got married at a drive-through in Las Vegas. So that that's our funny little story. But yeah, I think that was a great decision because now that house, we have probably somewhere around like $180,000 of equity in it from making that simple decision. And ever since then, we've just slowly been building the portfolio.
That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, a cool wedding would have been really fun for one night, but
Yeah, I
uh,
thought, the dream wedding I want is just like totally outside my budget. So I might as well just like do it quick.
yeah.
And then I don't know, at our 10-year or something, we can do something cool. But
Yeah. I'm curious. I didn't know the story about growing up and your parents owning a handful of rentals, or maybe I'm not sure how many. But when you like, do you remember being a kid or growing up and like kind of getting what was going on, or like when did it click that you're like, oh, they own these houses that aren't theirs, and someone pays them to live in them, and that's like a good way to make money. Like, when did that click for
mhm.
you early on, or tell me about that?
Yeah, I would say so. My mom would always talk to me about their finances and what was going on. And so I had already known the income that they were taking from their rental property was able to pay for their mortgage on a beautiful house that they were living in. So I could see that was the really great side of it. I also saw them, having to post notice for non-payment of rent constantly. So I saw that negative side of it. But I think I generally had a pretty good understanding of what was going on. And I think I was able to learn from their mistakes and all of the trial and error that they went through. And I was able to take that and now implement it into my own rentals.
Yeah, that's that. I feel like that's the story of rental real estate is like there are you buy it, there's a ton of bumps along the way, a ton of frustrating situations,
Mhm.
but it is you get through all of those and the reward is very massive on the back end. And there are things like you were mentioning that you can learn from others' mistakes and implement things to, try to mitigate some of that stuff. But there's no world
Mhm.
where it's just always going to be smooth sailing, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's why it's so important to be around other people that are far more experienced than you. That's why I love working at the brokerage that I work at, is because all of the agents are encouraged to own real estate themselves. And so every time we get together for a meeting, I learn so much. And if there is anything going on, any issues that I'm having with either my business or a client's business, regarding to rentals, then I'm able to ask those questions and I've got, a ton of solutions handed to me right then and there just because I make sure that, we're surrounded by people that have been through it and they've been able to figure a way around it.
Yeah, there's so much you can learn just from being in the right rooms. I mean, podcasts and books and stuff are amazing as well, but being in those rooms with people who have been through all the stuff you're going through is incredibly valuable. Um,
Mhm.
just to so you touched on your brokerage, which you're with, of course, SMI out of Salem.
Mhm.
Just to backtrack to a very high level, because this is a question I get from people who maybe don't own any real estate or just own like a primary residence. And I think a lot of people don't really get what an agent's job is. In fact, I hear this a lot like, oh, you just become an agent and you fill out some paperwork and you get paid a bunch of money for
Yeah.
basically for doing paperwork. And honestly, there was probably a time like before I owned real estate where I kind of thought the same thing, to be honest.
Mhm.
So tell people at a like high level, what does a real estate agent or broker actually do?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I thought the same when I was getting my license. I had no idea the amount of work that goes into the job. And what we're showed on TV is you get to show all these beautiful homes and the luxurious side of it. But it's definitely doing all of those things, making sure that you're understanding the contracts correctly and filling them out right. But it's so much more. I mean, I would say my day to day is filled with deal finding, and not just deal finding, because for our clients, a lot of them are looking for specific return metrics. And so that means for me that when I do go to look for these deals, a lot of times when I'm speaking to the agents or the sellers, the structures that we're trying to set up sometimes don't work for them. So that means that I have to check back because maybe the deal is not ripe yet, and I need to check back and see if they'll reconsider certain terms. So it's a lot of tracking different deals, different strategies. And then I would say having an agent that can negotiate for you is really huge. There's been so many deals that I've been on where the deals are just about to fall apart, and you've seen it too,
Yep.
just about to fall apart. And there are a lot of great agents that are able to think outside the box, and they will try to problem solve. But there are a lot, unfortunately, that kind of just throw their hands up and say, okay, well, the deal's dead, let's terminate. But I think that is really important to have someone in your corner that is able to think outside the box and then also has people on the team that they're working with that can help you with that.
Yeah, I noticed that from working with you and Trevor, like when there's an agent on when you're representing me and there's an agent on the other end and a concept comes up that maybe they don't fully understand. Like there's agents out there that, you say seller finance or you say we're going to do credit at closing, whatever. They're just things they're
Mhm,
not used to doing if they've mainly just sold kind of traditional single family home, owner occupy type
mhm,
deals. So I feel like you have to do a lot of, correct me if I'm wrong, you have to do a lot of kind of education of other agents who maybe don't operate in this space, right?
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I can understand where their fear comes from. They need to protect their client, but in a way, if you're not educating yourself, you're not really doing the best job for your client. And if you're not presenting all possibilities to your client, then you're giving them a disservice. But yeah, I would say that is a huge thing, is just educating people and making them comfortable with these concepts because they've been around forever. Like
Yeah.
they've been around for a very long time. It's just they're not as prevalent right now. And so people, when they hear different strategies that we try to implement to make the deal work for both sides, a lot of times agents are more hesitant. So yeah, it does take a lot of work to explain everything and make sure that you're answering any of their concerns.
Yeah, and we'll see it with we do a lot of seller finance deals and we'll see stuff where a seller will make an offer and the seller will take the conventional offer with no seller finance, even though it's a way worse offer than the seller
Uh-huh.
finance deal because it's just what they know and what they understand. People are naturally inclined to if it's a new concept to just say no, I'll just take the cash today, or
Mhm.
it's just people do what they know. Um and I actually don't know the answer to this question. Do you work with many? I see you through the investor lens. Do you work with many people who are buying owner? I know you do some where like somebody will buy a fourplex and occupy one of the units, but do you
Mhm.
do any just like straightforward people buying their first home, just single family home type purchases?
Yeah, I do. Usually those clients are friends or family that are coming to me, because we do try to keep our pipeline for investors. But I definitely do. And there is a huge difference between those clients and then the investor clients. Of course, when someone's buying their home to live in it for the next 5, 10, 15 years, it's a very emotional decision. And usually that process takes quite a while. And on the investor side of it, it's a lot more numbers driven, a lot more focus on the underwriting and how the property is going to be performing over the next however long they want to hold it.
Right, totally. I mean, because working with you guys, I live on the other side of the country, and so I buy deals all the time that you and my contractors will walk, and I never see them. But I would never in a million years do that if I was buying the house for myself to live in it. It's like you said, it's a numbers game versus a emotions. I love the layout, and I love all these things about the house, and I want to live here for 10 years versus I'm looking for an investment return.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so tell us a little bit about your portfolio at the moment. How many deals have you purchased?
Yeah, I've purchased three, and I have to say I have huge FOMO because I am surrounded by you, Trevor, Dane, like all of these amazing people that have just enormous portfolios. So I definitely have FOMO and I want to get my next deal ASAP. But for now, we have our first home was a townhouse, then we have a single family home, and then a single family home that we live in right now. And we just kind of house hacked our way into all of these homes. The townhouse, we had a family member live with us. So that was able to help us out with our mortgage fee, our mortgage cost and everything.
And
And
Sabrina,
then
real quick, just for the listeners, house hack means
oh, house hack is basically when you are able to get into a home for a low down loan. So like 3.5, 5%. And then you live in it for a year, move out, and have someone live with you. Yeah. And
gotcha.
so I did that with my second one. We moved into a four-bedroom, and it was just too big of a house for us. So what we did is we rented out two rooms and we were able to get the income from that. And we did travel nursing in that home.
Cool. So what's for your next deal? Do you have a particular buy box that you're looking for, or what's the next
Mhm.
move?
Yeah, so something that we don't have to live in, we're kind of done doing that rinse and repeat of, living in the home for a year or two and then moving out. So, um, something that we don't have to live in and we don't have to put 20% down on. So most likely a creative deal where we can get into it for maybe like 30 to 50 grand. Anything 4 units and under is what we're looking for. Yep. So if anybody
Nice.
has any deals out there, send them my way.
I feel bad. I feel like I stole that one from you. That was out
You
by.
are taking all my deals.
I know. It
Thanks,
just
Matt.
don't send them. I need to stop buying so many. So next one that comes along, just don't even tell me about it because I can't help myself.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you about it.
No, that was a cool deal though. That was a really good. That was a perfect example, actually. What you were talking about earlier, where we kind of went to the seller with an offer. They didn't originally like it. We said okay. And they let it sit on market for a few more weeks and came back to
Mhm.
us with the exact same. They basically accepted our original offer. To talk about that a little bit, because that's something I've learned from you guys that because my inclination is to get impatient, get excited about a deal, and figure out how quick can we get this done. And you guys are
Mhm.
really good at just saying, no, no, we can be patient. This is where our numbers work. Do you?
Mhm.
How have you kind of been able to develop that skill set, I guess, of follow up and teach it to your clients?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so much follow-up involved. Just like I was talking about earlier, our clients have certain return metrics that they're trying to hit. A lot of them, it's cash flow. And right now, when you're dealing with single family to 2 to 4 units and you're only putting 5% down on the home, cash flow is extremely hard to hit. Um, you can hit negative cash flow, but not positive. So that is definitely something that we try to explain to clients right off the bat that, these deals, they do happen. They do take a little bit longer to actually get though. And so it does happen quite often where a seller lists their property and they want a certain dollar amount for it. Usually we see those properties having to sit on market for 90 plus days before they're willing to have the conversation about seller finance or any creative structures. And I think that's just because they just want to sell the home and be done with it. And I can absolutely understand that. But what I try to explain to the agents is, would you rather have your client selling their home for $800,000 and we're doing a little bit of a creative structure, or would you rather have them take 100 grand hit? It doesn't, it's not in the best interest of the client to take that big of a hit. Um, on the other hand, sometimes there are sellers that are just pretty savvy. They've done this stuff before and they want monthly income. And then in those situations, it does work out really well.
Yeah, and that's another thing you guys have taught me as well. I was talking to Dane about this is, most of us, our instinct is just to see a property that's listed, and whatever the price is, that's the price. And so you see
Mhm.
this, like a perfect example, a deal we're working right now. It's a 10-plex in Salem, and it was, it's well, based on most of our metrics, it is pretty significantly overpriced. And so my inclination in the past would be just, okay, move on, next deal. And you guys kind of taught me like, no, no, that's the list price. Like we can offer whatever we
Mhm.
want. And so that's what we did. We put in an offer, and they can either kind of take it or leave it, and they'll know that our offer is there. Um, and they can
Mhm.
decide what they want to do with it.
Yeah, it's so funny because a lot of those deals that are a little bit larger, a lot of the numbers are based off of like pro forma of like how the property could be doing. But if it's going to take a few years to get to that point, then we try to explain like it's not in our client's best interest to be offering you guys a price based on pro forma. Sometimes it is. In some situations, it does make sense. But I think that's a shift is now we're starting to ask for more of like, let's see the actuals and we'll write our offer based on the actuals because living in a pro forma land just doesn't really make sense most of the time.
Yeah, I was listening to Deal Junkies earlier actually, and I think it was Gabe said something about like the listing agent is going to put the numbers that are going to appear on the sunniest, most beautiful
Yeah.
day of the year. And your job as the buyer and the buyer's agent is to think about what can happen on the rainiest day of the year. And it's kind of
Hmm.
that tug of war there. Um,
Hmm.
when you're and one thing with you guys that I've noticed as well is most agents are very, how do I say this nicely? They're in a rush to get their commission. Let's just say that. They like to, I've been through it. It's and it's normal human nature to kind of want the reward, which in this world is a commission. And you guys are
Hmm.
very good at like you'll talk me as your client, like you'll talk me out of deals where I'm excited about a deal, and you'll say, no, this isn't gonna work. I mean, so perfect. We had that. I was in town. We looked at that 14-plex together, and ultimately, we all agreed. And you guys didn't try to talk me. And if anything, you talked me out of it more than I talked myself out of it. That it just wasn't a good deal. We were under contract. If we close, it's a big commission coming in for you. I
Hmm.
mean, that can't be fun. But how do you kind of work through that and avoid getting, people call it like sales breath, where people just want the commission in any
Hmm.
industry. You guys are very like long-term thinking. How do you get in that mindset where you're not like shiny object commission and you're actually
Hmm.
doing what is best for your client?
Yeah, it honestly, it doesn't really affect me at all, knowing like if I have a deal and it's going to be going away for one reason or another. Because like you said, we're playing the long game. Like we feel like we're going to be in this space for much longer and we want to do right by our clients. And that is not by putting them into a deal that's not in their best interest. And so we'll always give our opinion on it. And at the end of the day, the client can make their decision, but it's not right to try to force someone into a deal or try to paint a picture like that's like you were saying, it's the listing agent's job to paint the shiniest picture. It's not our job to do that. It's our job to make sure that our clients are protected. And it happens all the time. Like we have deals all the time that terminate just because we get financials and they're not what they projected them to be. So honestly, at this point, it doesn't really matter to me if I'm gonna lose out on a commission because I know that we're gonna have our repeat customers and they're gonna be satisfied with how we're treating them. And at the end of the day, that's just such a better way to run a business.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Doing the right thing long term, the money takes care of itself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like a bad reputation will take you out real quick. So it's nothing that we're interested in having. We definitely want to make sure that all of our clients end the deal being happy and satisfied. And if anything does come up, we're like always here to problem solve with them.
Right. It's the mindset of, do I want to do one deal with this person, or do I want to do 100 deals with them over the next 10 years?
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
and it sounds silly. Like the normal answer would be, oh, of course you want to do 100 deals, but our brains are humans are not wired to think that way. It's like, how
yeah.
quick can I get instant gratification out of something?
Absolutely, especially when you're commission based and you don't know when you're going to make your next check. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's about those relationships that we're building with people, and that's the most important for sure.
Yeah, okay, so that takes me to my next question, just so everyone listening understands, because I get a ton of questions, but literally, like I talked about earlier, like what do agents actually do? Just explain for our audience, like how do you get paid?
How do I get paid? So we actually get this question a lot, because people join our program and they're like, okay, what is this? Like, how are you getting paid? Where's the hidden fees? It's really just a normal real estate transaction. So we go under contract and typically we negotiate to have the seller pay our commission fee. And then at closing, we get paid out of their proceeds. It's really as simple as that. So with our team Vesta, that's a really great bonus that people are getting because we are all investor minds. We have an investor mindset and we all do invest ourselves. So you're getting a team of people that are super experienced. They do it themselves. And typically, you don't have to pay anything out of pocket. So,
Yeah, it's a really cool value proposition that you guys have because it's basically you pay the same thing that you would pay any other agent, but you get access to all these like business planning, training materials, the right lender relationships. It's a really cool. It's an offer that's very hard to say no to because you're literally not paying any more money and you're getting a better product.
yeah. And I might add, I was actually a client of Vesta before Vesta was even really a thing. Trevor was my agent on before I got my license on the second home purchase. And he helped us figure out, okay, so you have this 4 bedroom house. How are you going to make money on it? And he was able to get us connected on furnish finders. We did the travel nurse thing and it worked out great. And so he's always been a go-to for us on, figuring out what our next investment plans are going to be regarding real estate. And I had, such a great experience with him on that. When I was asked to join the team, it was like a no-brainer. I was like, yeah, I know this works, and we're just super stoked to help other people do the same thing.
That's awesome. So how soon after that deal closed did you join the Vesta team?
Well, I got my license probably a year after that deal closed. I was with EXP, and EXP is a great company, but I just didn't love that the other brokers I was around, they weren't investing themselves. And so Trevor was like, why don't you go to SMI? There's meetings all the time where you can talk about different deals that are going on. And so I joined with SMI. I guess it would probably be 2 years after that deal closed. And I started working with Vesta.
Okay, cool. And tell us why, particularly when you're working with investor client. I mean, this might be an obvious answer, but I'm going to ask it. Why is it important if you're an investor to work with agents who invest themselves?
It's a great question. I would say,
Hey guys, we're taking a quick break, but before we get back into it, if you're enjoying this episode, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us to keep bringing you more valuable content. And if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, don't forget to leave a review. Please, it makes a huge difference. All right, let's get back to it.
I have more buy-in. I am trying to invest myself and build generational wealth for my family and I. So I naturally am going to gravitate towards learning as much as I can about this field. I loved it so much. I started working in the field, you know? And so if you have an agent that's super invested in growing in that industry and they also know the pains of getting the call from a tenant at night that something's broken, or they know the feeling of like, oh, I underwrote that property incorrectly. Now I'm having to deal with the consequences. I think that's so much more impactful than having a residential agent that is not familiar with those things. And then again, like once you close the deal, there are things are going to pop up that you're going to need guidance on. And if you have an agent that's been through that before, or they at least have a team that has been through things like that before, then they can just be an added person to support you through that journey.
Yeah, you can relate to what your clients are doing. You've been through it
Yeah.
yourself. Makes total sense.
Mhm.
You mentioned generational wealth a couple times. It was in your bio, and then you referenced it again. I guess first off, what exactly does that mean to you in the context you're using it?
Hmm. Well, I think for me, it means, I'm reaping the benefits of real estate through the appreciation of it, and I'll be able to pass those on to my heirs. And also, I'll be able to teach my daughter. Like it's amazing. She already um, helps me with transactions in like little kid ways, but she's super excited. So I think it's great. Like when she's older, I can teach her everything that I've learned from this. And we do plan to pass a property to her when she's older. I'm not sure tax implications and all that. We'll need to learn about all that later, but that is something that we do want to do. And then for her, she'll have that home with all of that equity and she'll be able to use those funds, however she wants, if she wants to start a business or if she wants to hang on to it. So that's for me what it means. I don't know like Google definition what it means,
No,
but
that's what I wanted.
for
Was
me,
your yeah.
yeah, yeah,
No, that's really cool. So here for a lot of investors out there or want to be investors, they see, different clients of yours or just, larger
mhm,
investors and they see all, on social media or whatever, they're getting all these good deals, their agents are bringing them good deals, et cetera, et cetera. What from an agent standpoint, what makes a good client for you?
mm. Love this question. I would say for me, it's a client that is willing to do the work to truly understand how these deals function. They want to learn how do I underwrite. They want to learn landlord tenant laws. Like they understand that this is a long-term investment in themselves and it is a business. They need to learn how to run it and to how to be successful at it. I think a lot of times people think that real estate can be a get rich quick thing. I mean, you can definitely rip some like crazy deals. It's been done, but it's not the norm. And honestly, it's more dangerous to do it that way when you don't have the knowledge backing you. So I would say for our clients, we always advise them to watch all of our training videos, play with our calculators, learn how to underwrite, scroll through the market, send me deals, I'll send you deals. And then at the end of the day, just like communication is so huge. I love when we send you a deal or you send a deal to us and we brainstorm back and forth. If we see a problem, we try to figure out how to fix it. And we're able to narrow down like, is this one worth going after or not? So I would say communication is another huge one for that.
Yeah, excuse me. I love what you said about get rich quick. I mean, that's what I usually tell people is like you can mix in a home run here and there. Like those
For
will
sure. Yeah.
happen if you do enough deals, but you need to be okay with just like mostly singles and doubles. And in 10 years
Mhm.
those deals will be home runs, but yeah, you got it. You have to do the work. I mean, it was a little easier a few years ago when rates were
Mhm.
3%. But then on the flip side, everyone was buying, so there was so much competition.
Yep.
Do you feel like I've said this to a few people? In a way, like, yes, it was really fun when rates were low, but in a
Mhm.
way, I feel like this market environment has given more opportunity to us as investors because sellers, like, if you went to, at least from if you went to a seller back then when everybody was getting 10
Yeah.
offers and said, "Hey, let's do a seller carry," they'd be like,
They're
"Yeah,
not going to talk
great.
to
Like,
you.
go to the back of the line."
It
It's
Bronx.
kind
Yeah.
of interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I bought our second home in I think it was 2021 and it was wild because there were so many people coming from other states and bidding 50K over list price. It was just it was very hard to get into something at that time. So I would agree with you. We still have challenges with dealing with the rate, but at the end of the day, like people can refi and there's still ways to make the deals viable through creative structures. So I definitely think the environment right now is a little bit better for investors overall. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's so many ways, rates are between 6 and 7 right now. I mean, we've done a lot of these, but there's so many ways to go and get a 4% rate via seller finance or a
Hmm.
3.5 sub two. And we could do a whole episode about that. But for if you're listening, you can hit up these guys and they'll the Vesta team and they can definitely help you with all of that. So here's another question from a kind of going off the last one about what makes a good client. So if you have a client who has given you their buy box and you find them a perfect deal that fits their buy box, and that you know where I'm going with this. I can see you
Yes.
already laughing. And you find them a perfect deal or even 2 or 3 deals and you keep sending to them and they don't take action on any of the deals. How does that make you feel as an agent?
um, that makes, well, I think there's got to be some underlying reason that I have not uncovered yet as to why they are not accepting the deal that I brought to them that essentially should fit everything that they're looking for. And it definitely does happen. And I think, um, I mean, I've even done this with my own life. I'll find a property or my husband will find a property that one of us likes. We bring it to the other one and then we're like, oh no, I don't like parking situation or like some nitpicky thing. So I always think, okay, there's probably something underlying that I'm just not getting to yet. So when we do have clients where it seems like we're not getting any traction with and the communication's not there on exactly what they did not like about the property, usually we'll update an investment plan. So Trevor will have a meeting with them to update and talk about those things and figure out like, hey, we sent you this deal, like specifically tell us what was not good about it so that going forward we can send you good deals and we're not wasting either of our time.
So it's kind of a result of just not having a defined buy box, right? Is that
Yeah, I would say so. Probably. Yeah, we're missing some piece of the puzzle.
gotcha? So on so I'll talk to a lot of people who are either like husband or wife like you guys or even business partners and the importance of like having one person who's kind of the hit the gas person and then the other person who's a little bit more cautious
Mhm.
because you weigh each other out. Like you prevent the person who will hit the brakes will prevent you from doing anything reckless, but the person who hits the gas make sure that you take, you do take action at some point.
Yeah.
Which do you and your husband kind of have that, or what's the dynamic there?
Yeah. Let me ask you, do you think I'm hit the brakes or do you think I'm like pedal to the metal? Let's
Oh
go.
gosh, I don't know your
I mean,
husband, so
you
I'm
haven't
I'm
met, yeah. So
yeah. I'm gonna guess you're pedal to the metal.
I am. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm sending him stuff all the time and he's like, no. But it's fine. It's just it's balancing when you're in a relationship. You have to balance each other's risk tolerance and
totally.
all the points he brings are very good. And for us, we are trying to pay off our properties as soon as possible because for us it's more of just like a mental thing. We want the mental clarity of having that gone. So we've been trying to pay those properties off a little bit quicker. And then we want to make sure that we've got plenty of padding before we move on to the next deal, just for peace of mind. Because, I think in my perfect world, I would like to just get as many deals as possible, but then I would probably be so stressed out every day. And I think it really does affect. So you need to know how to balance that risk and reward.
Yeah, that's what's so cool about real estate is like not everyone needs to have the same path. In fact, you should. I think a great way to do it is what you're describing. Start with what your goal is and work backward. So if
Mhm.
you want like your route, that's a perfect way to just build a lot of wealth and have a ton of peace of mind and low stress levels. If you go to like a Trevor or Gabe, it's like let's leverage as much as humanly possible. So if your goal is to buy as much real estate as humanly possible, you can do that. If your goal is to just reach financial freedom and own a bunch of properties free and clear and have low
Mhm.
stress, you can do that. So I guess for
Mhm.
people listening, honestly, I think that's a pretty good way to establish your buy box or your business plan is decide what your goal is and kind of work backward from it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, we want a certain amount in cash flow per month. That's like our goal. I think by the time we hit 35-ish. So we're on track for that. I would just like it to happen so much sooner. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's no one right way to invest, like you were saying. Some people it just works out better for them to be like super leveraged, or other people it works better for them to, like us, pay down things as much as possible and not have the stress because it stresses us out.
I think I'm with you. Like I'm probably a little more risk tolerance than you guys, but definitely not
Mhm.
as much as like the Trevor and Gabe and them. Cause I mean, I've had places where like I bought a ton of stuff with you guys last year, and I've had
Mhm.
some times where I'm like, okay, like I need to not buy a deal for X amount of time. Not because I don't like the deals, but literally
Mhm.
it's not an investment strategy. It's a peace of mind strategy.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And
So
sometimes that's worth way more.
oh, yeah. If you're stressed out all the time, I don't know. I mean, that's just me, but I don't think that's ever worth it to be losing
Mhm.
sleep or worrying about money. It's not worth it.
No, yeah, because it affects like other assets or facets of your life, and it just, yeah, not worth it.
No, totally. So, talk a little bit about how because I'm kind of going through this transition with you guys. Talk a little bit about what it's like being working a deal on like a 4 or 6 plex versus getting up into like a 20, 25, 30, 35 unit apartment deal. What
Mm.
changes?
Well, I would say the 2 to 4 is a lot more simple. Um, you still have your checks and balances that you have to go through. You still need to make sure that what they're advertising the property as checks out on their P&Ls. Um, when you get into the larger apartments, that's when you see a lot longer time frames. Like for us, we're doing a lot of 30-day due diligence. With you're on 2 to 4 unit, you might have like a 10 to 15-day due diligence time frame. And then as far as financing, we're usually doing financing contingencies for the larger apartment complex deals out to 90 days. And then we kind of bake in a couple of extensions in there to make sure that we're covered. So it's just a lot longer process. And then of course, when you're having to check the profit and loss on a larger amount of units, there's just more to look at, more paperwork to go through and everything.
Yeah, I mean, we just went through that with that 14 unit. It
Yeah,
is
that's a lot.
so much more stuff to sift through because you get we talked about those sunny day numbers that you get in the offering memorandum, but then you dive into the books and stuff's different and you have to counter and
Yeah.
I'm learning right now as well because I haven't done many of these, but it is and yeah, the timelines are completely different as well. It's a totally different ball game.
Yeah. And I've realized that a lot of it is like a little bit subjective. Like that last one that we did, they were telling us that, oh, well, those were expenses that we had and we've addressed them. You won't have them again. But for us, those were expenses that were absolutely going to be continuing. So it's really interesting. It is like each party is trying to make their case for why they think the property should be valued at whatever they should be valued at. Um, so yeah, it's interesting to see because I'm newer to dealing with like larger apartment deals, and so I didn't think it would be like this, but sometimes there is some subjectivity to it.
Oh, totally. I feel like the classic one is to just refer to everything as CapEx. Like every single little, oh, there's a leaky toilet, that's CapEx. There's
Yeah,
drywall
it won't
repair,
happen
that's
again.
CapEx. And
Yeah.
for those that are listening that haven't looked at a ton of these larger deals, they're priced based on cap rate, which is based on the net operating income. And if you put a repair as a repair, it hurts your NOI. If you put it as a capital expenditure, it helps your NOI. So everybody
Mhm.
pushes to, and it's not, I don't, like we said, that's kind of the listing agent's job. We're not saying that they're like bad guys and gals or
Yeah.
anything, but it's just it is more art than science, and their side is going to present the prettiest version of
Mhm.
the art that they can, I guess, is how I would put it.
Yep. Yep. Love that.
Cool. So, hey, non real estate wise, what do you like to do for fun or hobbies? Or maybe
Gosh,
it's
I
real
never get
estate.
out of my house. Yeah, I know. I look at deals all day. Yeah, no, I would say anything to get out of the house. Matt, I am in my house all the time. I'm always at my computer typing away. So I would say, whenever I can get out with my family, we'll go drive through neighborhoods. It's like our favorite pastime. We'll drive through cool neighborhoods and look at houses. Or we'll drive to Portland and try a new restaurant, drive to the coast, really anything like that. Because my day to day, it's, you know, running a household, being in real estate, trying to, keep up with like fitness and being healthy. So it's whenever I can get out of the house and just like go have a fun day with the family is my favorite thing.
And you have one daughter, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one
What's
daughter,
your
she's 6.
what's your favorite thing or a couple things to do with her?
Oh man, she has been really into Roblox lately. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, it's where you can like it's online. You can like build cities and worlds and stuff,
Hmm.
right?
Oh, that's Minecraft. You got to brush up on your kid games, okay?
Oh, I sound very boomer right now, I feel like.
You boomer. No, she's teaching me words that I've never heard before. Like she told me I was cooked the other day, which you know that because I saw it in your blog post.
Yeah, I use that one.
Yeah, cooked. And then there was another one. I don't know, but she's 6 and she's already like telling me all these like cool lingo things.
Wait, I gotta know the context. What did you like? What made her say you're cooked?
Oh, we were playing a video game together and she told me I was cooked. And I was like, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That's amazing. That's so
Oh, and
funny.
then the new one is juked, which like I juked you. I think it means like I tricked you. Juked.
Okay, I
I
know
hope it
that
means
one.
that.
Yeah, right. I know that. So the way I would think of that one is in football, like you do a juke move to like get past the defender, but maybe it's different now. I don't know.
I think it's different now.
I guess it's like tricked the defender too. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have your daughter on the podcast to just give us
I'll
some
teach you.
Gen Z, or I don't even, is she, what is be,
Think
before
something
Gen Z
different
or after Gen Z? I mean, I don't,
after.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know what
She
she is.
can teach us all the how the cool kids are talking. Okay, before we let you go, well, a couple things. This is
Mhm.
a new question that we've added to all of our interviews. I like to ask people, what is the best thing, any sort of content that you've read or watched or listened to recently?
Mm, I would say, okay, totally biased. Like Deal Junkies, they're great. Totally listen to them. I actually do learn a lot. I think like I'm still fairly new to real estate, so every time I hear them talk, I learn so much. And then every time I go to like RS and my meetings, I learn so much from all these brokers that are just doing amazing things. Other than that, I listen to the podcast. I think it's Diary of a CEO. That one's great. He has different guests on all the time. Yeah, I really enjoy that one. Um, yeah, I have to say that that's like my main go-tos right now is that I'm really enjoying. Have you listened to that one yet?
Diary of a CEO.
Hmm.
No, someone else recommended that to me a few weeks ago. I'll have to check it. I have not, I of course listened to Deal
Hmm.
Junkies. I have not not listened to Diary of a CEO yet. I'll check that out as well.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But hey, yeah, that's a actually a great note for everybody. Just a quick rant here, but if you guys want to get into real estate or really anything, there all of the content, all the stuff is out there to learn how to do it.
Seriously. Yep.
Most of it, in fact, almost none of it is rocket science. We're not doing heart surgery or sending spaceships to Mars. Like this stuff, it's literally all in a book or it's in a podcast or it's on YouTube or what. Like you can learn how to do all of it, but part of it involves you have to do the work to learn it, and you have to, like you said, Sabrina, you have to check your ego too and just be willing to learn from people who are further along than you and be like, I don't
Mhm.
have it all figured out.
Yeah.
I sure as hell don't. I make mistakes all the time, and I try to talk to as many people who are further along than me or whatever, or where I want to be. But if you're willing to put yourself out there and do a little bit of work, you can learn all this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think step one is reading about it, reading how to do it, and then step two is really implementing it while also having people near you that are able to help you along the way. Because I know there's been times where, I've read a book and I'm like, this is great, but when it comes to actually implementing it, there's definitely things that pop up and there's roadblocks that happen. So I think having people around you that have been through it before or you can talk through it with is very helpful. So surround yourself with as many like-minded people, people that are going through the same thing, because it just helps you so much more.
Yeah, and that's a great place to leave. I mean, you guys at the Vesta team are a perfect example of that. I've gotten so much out of working with all you, and you guys really do just give away so much stuff and ask for nothing in return. Like I'll call you or I'll call Trevor or whatever, have a question about something, and it's changed my business for sure. Like I was buying, I wasn't a new investor, but you guys have brought so much value to my business. So I guess that kind of takes us into our last piece. Anything you want to plug or shout out um, before we sign off, or how can people work with you? And then lastly, where can people follow you?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at Sabrina_James. You can find me on Facebook like that. Um, yeah, if you are interested in getting into real estate, give us a call, DM me, however you can reach me. We're more than happy to help you. And even if now isn't the right time for you to be getting into it, you don't feel like you necessarily want to start right now, it's still a good time to have the conversation with us because we can build an investment plan for you and start setting up those steps to get you to where you want to be. So give us a call.
Awesome. We'll leave it at that. Give Vesta Solutions a call. And you can buy your first deal or you can buy your hundredth. But
Mhm.
yeah, I'm not a paid actor. I'm just a customer. But what these guys are doing is awesome. So give them a shout out. Sabrina, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for making time for us today on the Saucetown Investor.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been fun.
That is a wrap for today's episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Saucetown Investor. If you got value from this, drop us a comment and let us know your thoughts. Did you have a big takeaway? Is there a topic you want to see us cover next time? Is there a guest you want to see interviewed? DMs are open. Business is at Saucetown Properties, and my personal, you can DM me personally, is at the real Matt Cox 4. We'd also like to ask you kindly to please like and subscribe. You can also follow along with the Saucetown Investor blog. That's mattcox444.substack.com. Thanks again, guys, and until next time, keep investing and stay saucy, Saucetown.